I guess start. Well, I'd like to welcome Michael Aron, DTM. He's a 20-year Toastmaster, has been involved with speech contests right from the start of his Toastmaster career. He's competed in 100 contests to date, and when not competing, he has filled every role, including contest chair, contest master, chief judge. Having experience on both sides of the contest makes him a unique and qualified individual for today's present day webinar, chairing a successful speech contest. Michael Aron, welcome, and I will pass the gavel over to you.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Toastmasters. You have been tasked, either assigned, volunteered, or voluntold to be the chair of your next club, area, or division speech contest. What are you going to do now? I know if you were me, I would say, what have I gotten myself into? Once you've done that, you're going to take a deep breath, keep calm, because you're going to chair a great speech contest with all the information that you're going to get tonight. I'm going to go through 5 sections of my presentation. There are the basics. We are going to prepare for the contest. We're going to run the contest. And then I'll show you what things to do after the contest. And we'll have time for questions. As far as questions, please put the questions in the chat, and I'll get to them at the end. I will answer all the questions in the chat. If there are more questions in the chat than I can answer in the time allotted, I will answer them all in a document and then post that up to the same place where I have this presentation. So let's get started. The first thing you have to consider is there are 2 guiding principles that should be on the top of your mind at all times when you're running a speech contest. The first one, and most important, is fairness. Your contest has to be fair. Every contestant has to have an equal chance of winning, and there should be no sign of impropriety. As we go through some of these things that you have to go through, I will point out where fairness is important. The second thing that you have to keep in mind is a contest is filled with opportunities. Of course, the contestants have the opportunity to compete. They have the opportunity to speak in front of audiences that they don't normally speak in front of. But also, people like the contest chair, the contest master, chief judge, and so on, have leadership opportunities presented to them as part of running a contest. So it's important that you do run a contest. If you as a club are considering whether you want to run one or not, you need to know that the club can send its contestants to the area level any way it wants. It does not have to have a contest. But again, if you don't have the contest, you are missing some opportunities. And there's a fairness issue there too, because the people that you send to the area contest will not have the opportunity to compete in a contest setting. So when they get to the area, if they've never competed before, it's all new. So it's really a great idea to have a club contest. Area and the division contests must be held, especially if there are contestants coming up from the lower levels. As with anything in Toastmasters, no matter what you want to do, there is a manual for it. And it's no different with a contest. The manual for contests is the speech contest rulebook. Not only does this have the rules, but it also has timetables and list of checklists and things you need to do. The contest rule book is available as a free download from Toastmasters. You can order it and pay for it, a paper copy, but you don't have to. It's a free download, item number 1171. or you can get it when you download the contest kit, which I'll talk about in a moment. It's in every contest kit. And one of the great things you can do if you download it is send it to all your contest role participants and the contestants. You'd be surprised how many people compete in a contest and have never seen the rule book and have no idea what the rules are. So it's a good thing. You get the PDF, you just send it out to everyone. Or you send them the link to the download at Toastmasters. There are 5 contest types that Toastmasters International sanctions, and the top 3, which are in bold, are the ones that are going to be run, or at least tentatively going to be run this contest season, culminating in May of 2021. The International Speech Contest, which, if it's a brick and mortar contest conference, will be held on Saturday evening. The Evaluation Contest, which would be held Sunday morning, and the Humorous Speech Contest, which would be held Friday evening. The division contests have to be done 2 weeks prior to the conference, which is now tentatively scheduled for the 3rd week in May. So I would say if you scale that back 2 weeks, it's April 30th. The area contests have to be done 2 weeks before that. That it would be around April 16th, and the club contests have to be done 2 weeks before that, somewhere at around the beginning of April. If the conference is a virtual conference only via Zoom, then we'll probably just have the international contest on the Saturday. All of this is still tentative, and it's based on a leadership meeting coming up in December where these things will be decided. These numbers on the sides are the contest kit numbers. Each one is different because basically the judging forms are different for each contest. But there are a few things that are different otherwise. These are the things that are in the kit. You have your rule book. You have the contestant biographical and eligibility forms. There are several judges forms. These are different for each contest. The timer record sheet, the counter sheet, and then these notification sheets at the end. There are also the speech contest certificates, both the participation certificate and the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place certificates. These are PDFs in color that you can print out. You can even pre-fill for the participation certificates. You can pre-fill all the names and the contest dates and all that. And for the winner certificates, you can pre-fill everything except the name, which you won't know until after the contest. It's important, in my opinion, it's important that you give out those 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place certificates. As we'll talk later about which ones you give out, but it's important to give that out. Sometimes people only give out trophies, but I think that the speech contest certificates, which have the signatures of the people that ran the contest, the name of the contest, the date, and the name of the winner, 2nd place, 3rd place, and so on, is proof positive that you were in that contest. And if there's any dispute at a higher level, that certificate is positive proof. It would stand up in a court of law if it ever came to that. So a trophy, hey, I can order a trophy from Mr. Trophy that can say anything. So it's not really good proof. So be sure to make sure that every contestant gets the certificates that they deserve. The evaluation contest kit has one other form, and that is a form called Evaluation Contestant Notes. This is, for all intents and purposes, a blank piece of paper that says Evaluation Contestant Notes at the top. In past contests, evaluation contestants could bring their own paper, and I suppose a lot of contestants pre-fill the evaluation form in the way they wanted to do it. That's not allowed anymore. Contestants have to use those sheets of paper. And you can give them 2 sheets, 2 or 3 sheets, whatever, but it has to be these contest notes. Now let's talk about the roles that you have to fill to run a speech contest. These are the roles you have to fill at the club level. You have to fill a contest chair and a contest master. Now, let me talk about that role or those roles to start with. A lot of people think that's one and the same role. It can be, but it can also be 2 different roles. The contest chair is the person that is arranging everything ahead of time, getting the venue, deciding on the date and time, recruiting everybody. That is the job of the contest chair. The contest master is basically the Toastmaster on the day of the contest. In many cases, when people have trouble getting roles filled, it's the same person that does both jobs, but it's not necessary that both roles be done by the same person. In fact, here's another leadership opportunity to delegate to someone else. The next job that you need is a chief judge. If you, as a contest chair, recruit a contest master and a chief judge, you can delegate to them most of the other tasks that need to be done, and you can basically be a supervisor. For a club level, you need at least 5 voting judges, and you notice the asterisk there. I'll talk about that in a minute. You need a tie-breaking judge, 2 counters, 2 timers, a sergeant at arms, mainly for the evaluation contest, where you have to shuffle people in and out of a room. That's where the sergeant at arms could be useful. And for the evaluation contest, you'll need a target speaker. This is the person that gives the speech that the evaluation contestants will then evaluate. At one contest, it was actually an area contest. I was the only contestant in a humorous speech contest, and the other contest was an evaluation contest. And the area director at the time came up to me before the contest and said to me, listen, we're having a lot of trouble filling all the roles. We don't have a target speaker. You're the only contestant in the humorous contest. Do you mind if the evaluation contestants use your speech as the target speech to evaluate? I didn't have a problem with it. If there are multiple contestants and someone wants to do that, you would just pick the last contest speaker to be the target speech. As long as the timing is right and all that, I don't see any problem. The asterisks imply that at the club level, the rules say that these are the roles unless impractical. What does that mean? Well, we can't get 5 judges. We don't have enough people, so we have 3 judges. We can only get 1 counter. We can only get 1 timer. Okay, at the club level, you can get away with it. The other thing you should know is any of these roles can be filled by Toastmasters from other clubs or other areas or wherever. So you don't need to get them from your club. So what Keen Toastmasters does with Brattle Masters is we contact Brattle Masters, we tell them when our contest is going to be, then we ask them to send people to our contest to act as judges, timers, counters, etc. And then when Brattle Masters has their contest, we send people over there and fill in for them. That way, it works for both of us. Let's look at the roles that are needed for an area contest. Notice there are no more asterisks. These are the roles you need. And the number of judges is different. You definitely need a minimum of 5 judges, or if you have 6 areas, you need 6 judges. You definitely need the tie-breaking judge, 2 counters, 2 timers, and all of that. So not much of a choice at the area contest, and definitely not a choice at the division contest. And there you need 7, minimum of 7 judges. And now that you have more judges, more clubs coming into the contest, they can put in this rule that says no chief judge, voting judge, or tie-breaking judge can be a member of any club in which a contestant is a member. What does that go towards? Fairness. You don't want to have all the judges come from the club where the contestants are from. What is the missing contest role that I didn't talk about at all, but is vital for having a contest? Yes, contestants. And contestants are the only ones that have to come from the club, the area, or the division that is holding the contest. All other roles can be filled from outside Toastmaster, other clubs. You probably want to recruit your contestants first before you recruit anybody else, because if you find that your club, nobody wants to compete, and there's no reason for you to have a contest. I'm going to tell you a word about running multi-club or multi-area contests. I've seen it done. It's complicated. You can share all the roles except the contestants. So let's say Club A and Club B are going to have a contest at the same time in the same place on the same evening. You can have one contest master, one chief judge, one set of judges. However, the contestants from Club A must only be judged against contestants from Club A, and contestants from Club B can only be judged against contestants of Club B. So the judges, the timers, the counters, everybody has to have separate sets of forms and keep it all straight. If this is your first time running a contest, you don't want to be doing this. It can be very confusing. It's much better if you just hold separate contests and get other people to come to your contest to fill in these roles. But this can be done if you really have to do it. The next thing to talk about is eligibility. And for eligibility, there are a series of musts, at least that's the way I put it, and a series of must-nots. So let's go over the musts first. So the contestants must be a member in good standing of a club in good standing. What does that mean? It means the member has to have his or her dues paid, and the club has to have his or her dues paid for the period in which the contest is being held. If your club contest is before September 30th, you have to have your March to September dues paid. If your club contest is after October 1st, or if the area or division contest is after October 1st, you have to have those dues paid. The contestants have to maintain eligibility at all levels of the contest. This is important if somebody makes it to the division level and it's found out later that they didn't pay their dues on time when they were at the club level. They paid them after the club contest. Suddenly they're now ineligible to continue. And you don't want that to happen to people. So you want to make sure they're eligible at every level. For the international contest, there's one more rule, and that is you have to have completed 6 speeches in the Competent Communication Manual, which is the old program, or you have completed levels 1 and 2 of any pathway. I suspect that within the next few years, they'll phase out the A and they're only allowed the B. The other thing that you need to know about eligibility is all contest roles must be filled by, I wrote here, paid Toastmasters. It doesn't mean we pay them to fill the rules. It means they have to have paid their dues. So I think I might change that for the next time to say Toastmasters in good standing. Used to be, at least at the club level, that if you had guests and you couldn't fill all the roles, you would say, oh, listen, can you fill in as timer or can you fill in as a counter? You can't do that anymore. Everybody has to be a Toastmaster whose dues are paid. The other thing is there are separate eligibility criteria for judges. Those are in the rule book. I'm not going to cover those here. They basically have to do with how many speeches or how many evaluations a potential judge has done in the past, so that they're not brand new members who've never evaluated before. Now let's go over the must-nots. The contestant must not be an area, division, district, or international officer or a candidate for such an officer. If you say, hey, you know, I'm going to run for international president or international director, you are immediately disqualified from competing. If you are an area, division, or district officer, you cannot compete. Second one, you may not be a member serving as a voting judge, tie-breaking judge beyond the club level for a contest in which the member is still competing. So basically what this rule says is I, as a contestant, cannot be a judge in a contest that's deciding who I am going to compete against in a future contest. So the best thing to do as a contestant is do not be a judge in any other contest during that contest season. And if you're a judge in a contest, don't be a contestant somewhere else. So that is, again, goes to the fairness. Next thing, you cannot compete in more than one area speech contest of a given type. That's a humorous, international, evaluation, etc. Even if the two areas are in different divisions or districts. I happen to belong to a club in area in District 45 and a club in District 53. Once I've won a club contest and I move to the area, that's it. I am committed to one or the other district. The contestants cannot be presenters of educational sessions, contest chairs, contest toastmasters, chief judges, or even committee chairs for the event at which the contest will be held. This normally has to do with district conferences. So if you are a contestant, you cannot be an educational presenter at the conference where you will be competing. You can't be any of these other roles either. This, again, goes to the fairness point, because these people have much more visibility at these events than will the other contestants. So you don't want to have that kind of a thing going on, so we don't allow that. Now that we've got the basics behind us, let's prepare for the contest. So the first thing you're going to do is download the kits from Toastmasters International. They're free, easy to do. It takes about a half hour to download 3 kits, if that long, and they have everything you need. The next thing you want to do is determine the date, time, and location of your contest. At a club level, that's pretty simple. It's one of your club meetings or one of the evenings when you can get the venue that's not one of your club meetings. This is one of those kind of sneaky things where fairness could be an issue. If you decide to have your club contest on an evening where 4 out of the 5 people that want to compete can make it, but one person can't, you've just shut that person out of the contest. So that is not fair. So you need to pick a date, time, and location that, at least at the club level, everybody can make. At the area and division level, it's not always possible, but because those dates are usually picked before the winners of the lower levels are done. But you want to keep that in mind. Make sure that the date, time, and location are convenient to most of the contestants. if not all the contestants. Next you want to do is recruit all your participants. Get your contest master, your chief judge, have them recruit the other people, and remember that you can use other clubs to fill those roles. The next thing you want to do, especially at the club level, is publicize your contest. A contest is a great PR opportunity. Use it to do the publicity. That's why you need to know the date and time, location ahead of time, and all that. But publicize it, get some guests to come. Once they've come and sat through your contest, you can tell them, did you have fun tonight? Yes. We have fun at our regular meetings. They're not like this, so you should come and see what our regular meeting is like. You need to verify the contestant and judge's eligibility. That's where they fill out those forms. And at the club level, it's easy. You go to the treasurer and you say, hey, did Mike Aron pay his dues? Yes, he did. Did you pay the dues to Toastmasters International? Yes, I did. Great, we're done. You ask Mike Aron, have you given 6 speeches from the manual, or have you completed your first 2 levels? Yes, I have. You can check that as one of the base camp managers. You could have the club VP Ed check that. At the area and division level, it's a little harder, but you can send an email to speechcontest@toastmasters.org with all the information about the contestants, what the date of your contest is, what the dates of the previous contests were, and they will come back to you within a day or 2 with letting you know whether the person is eligible. You can ask them ahead of time what information they will need from you. Do not send this email the night before your contest. There will not be enough time for Toastmasters to get back to you. Give them at least a week. Do this as soon as you know all the contestants in your contest. Before the contest, you will also create a contest agenda. Again, this could be you as the contest chair or the contest master. Either one can do this. You will create a contest agenda. The agenda will have which contest is coming first, which is second, if you're having multiple contests at the same time. You will put the contestant names in alphabetical order without any of their Toastmaster designations. No DTM, no L1, none of that. You will not list any of the contest officials, especially the judges, because they're supposed to be as anonymous as possible. You can put the contest master and the chief judge's name in there, but nobody else. You will also then, prior to your contest, print all the forms that you think you're going to need for as many judges as you're going to have, all the participation certificates, the winner, second place, third place. You just don't fill in the name. Print all of that stuff. And yes, there are a lot of forms to be printed. So you have to keep track of all this stuff with folders and all that. You have to keep it straight. If you have multiple contests that you're running, make multiple folders, however you want to organize that, that's totally up to you. Now we're ready for the day of the contest, and we're about to get there. We want to get to the contest location at least 30 minutes ahead of time, if not an hour ahead of time. You want to make sure the room is properly set up. You can get into the room, you have the keys and all that stuff. You want to make sure that if you have any microphones and any other audio equipment, that you test that and make sure it's working. If any of the contestants have told you that they have a PowerPoint, you want to make sure that all that stuff is projector, screen, all that is working. When you're there, you also want to find a separate room, especially for the evaluation contest. So that's where the evaluation contestants will write their evaluations. When I go through the evaluation contest procedures, we'll talk about that. But this room is also to be used by the chief judge and the ballot counters to count the ballots. And this room should not be anywhere near the actual contest room, or at least it should be located in a way that the people in this room can't hear what's going on in the contest room. Once you're at the contest location and the contestants and everybody's starting to show up, you want to collect all the contestant forms, their bio, their eligibility. If you didn't have them, email you that stuff ahead of time. Always bring extra forms, blank forms with you, even if you ask them to email them, because people won't. And so they're going to have to fill them out at the contest. You will then have to hold the contestants and the officials' briefings. Normally, the contest master holds the contestant briefings, and the chief judge holds the officials' briefings. When we get to the end of this presentation, I'll give you a link to a file that has contestant and contest scripts, and it has the briefing scripts and tells you everything that these guys have to go through in the briefings. The big thing to do in the contestant briefing is you're going to select the speaking order through some random process. I usually like to bring a deck of cards and have people just pick cards, and low card goes first, next lowest goes second, and so on. You also are going to go through the speaking location with the contestants and tell them you can go from here to here, and this is your speaking spot. You can ask them if they want the lectern, if they don't want the lectern, if they have props, you know, how they're going to set them up. All of that stuff can be worked out during the contestant briefing. You also need to make sure that the contestants are not wearing any Toastmaster identification, no badges, no pins that say what level they're on, none of that stuff. They should all be equal. What does that go to? Fairness. All right, so now it's time to start the contest. Usually the sergeant at arms opens the meeting, gives location details. By that I mean the bathrooms are over to your right. Please mute your cell phone. Please don't leave the room while any contestant is speaking. All of that stuff, you go over there. Once they have gone through all of that, the sergeant at arms introduces the contest master. Once that contest master is introduced, any contestant that isn't there at that point is disqualified. If the contestant missed the briefing but is there prior to this introduction, that's fine. But if they miss the introduction of the contest master, they're out. That's definitely a rule in the rule book. Then the contest master will announce the speaking order that was drawn during the briefing. The reason for that is the judges and the timers need to write those names down in their forms. If you have the names on the agenda with the proper spelling, that makes it easy for them. You just name the name and the speaking order. At no time in the contest will the contest master give any kind of comment on the quality of the speech. When the speaker is done, you shake hands, they leave. You don't say, hey, that was a great speech. Nothing. The only thing you say is, may we please have a minute of silence for the judges to fill out their ballots. At that point, the timer will time a minute. When the minute is over, the contest master will say, does any judge need more time? If anybody raises their hand, you give them another 30 seconds. And if after that, they still need more time, you give them another 30 seconds. And you keep doing that. I've never seen that go more past 2 or 3 times. After the last speaker of the contest, you ask for 2 minutes of silence and you still go through that 30 seconds. Again, And this time, after that's done, you ask the judges to raise their ballots. Bingo, they're no longer anonymous, but that's the way it is. And then you have the counters pick up all the ballots. And as soon as all the ballots are picked up from all the judges, the chief judge and the counters leave the room, go to that room that you picked out ahead of time, and they will go count the ballots. At this point, everyone is in the room and you're waiting for the judge to come back with the results. So what do? You are going to, as contest master, interview the contestants. What kind of questions do you ask them? The purpose of that bio form that you had the contestants fill out is to give you questions to ask them. The bio form asks questions like, what's your most notable accomplishment? What offices in the club have you held? Things like that. What are your hobbies? What are your interests? You can ask any of those questions. Basically, it's a table topic session, but they are giving you the questions. You can ask people at an area or division level, what club are you from? How long have you been in Toastmasters? Any of that stuff. Try to ask questions that are similar for each contestant, and that will take about a similar amount of time for them to answer. I mean, at this point, the contest is over, so they can talk as much as they want, but you want to be fair, you know, to the ones that go last, that they have as much time to answer. At that point, as each person answers, you give them their participation certificate. Now let's talk about the evaluation contest. For the evaluation contest, the procedure is a little bit different. After you do the first introductions and you give the speaking order, you introduce the target speaker. That target speech should be a 5 to 7 minute speech. It can be a manual speech, but you're not going to tell the contestants or anybody else what manual, what project, what path, or any of that. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech. The only thing you're going to tell them in the introduction of that target speaker is name, title, repeat the title, and then repeat the name. Michael Aron, my favorite vacation, Michael Aron. That target speaker is timed just like anybody else. And then after that person speaks, all of the contestants, all of the evaluation contestants are escorted out of the room, put in that other room, and they have 5 minutes to write their evaluation. At that point in the room, you will interview the target speaker. You can do other things in that 5 minutes, but that's a good time to interview the target speaker. After the 5 minutes are done, all the notes that the evaluators have made during that 5 minutes are taken away from them. And then as they come back into the room, one at a time in the order that they are to speak, their notes are given back to them. This is so that they can't be adding to their notes more than the person that spoke first or earlier. Once they have spoken, they can remain in the room and listen to the subsequent speakers. And because the evaluators do not have a title for this speech, you introduce them with just saying their name twice. And now our next evaluation contestant, Michael Aron. And that's it. For the humorous and international contests, all the contestants can remain in the room through the whole contest. They can hear everybody else's speech. And the contest master introduces all contestants in the same way. Name, title, name. Michael Aron, my favorite vacation, Michael Aron. Again, you don't say, hey, what a great speech. Hey, that happened to me once. None of that. same thing with the, let's have 1 or 2 minutes of silence for the evaluators to pick up, for the judges to complete their ballots. So now the chief judge has come back in, and it's time to announce the winners. If you have 5 or more contestants for a contest, you can announce a 3rd place winner, a 2nd place winner, and a 1st place winner in that order. If you have 4 or fewer participants, you announce a 2nd place winner and a 1st place winner. You don't announce the 3rd place winner. I added this little note. If there's only 1 participant in a contest, that contestant can still be disqualified if he or she does not meet the timing, originality, or eligibility requirements. So in the briefing, if you know there's only 1 participant, you can tell them, listen, when you see that red card come up, just say, thanks, this is my speech. Thank you very much. You're the only participant, and the only reason you could get disqualified is if you go over time. I've seen it happen. It's really sad. So don't let that happen. If at any time when these announcements are being made, the judge, chief judge, or the counters notice that there is an error in the announcements, the contest master is not announcing it properly, they have to stop it right there and say, no, that's wrong. Here's the real order. Because once the results are announced, they are final. And no matter what the mistake was, that's it. The same thing goes for protests. The only reason that you can protest is eligibility or originality. And since you've been checking their eligibility with Toastmasters International, the only reason they should be protested is originality. And that is if they have too much quoted material, if they did a speech that you've heard somewhere else before, and the only people that can actually protest are the voting judges or the contestants of that contest. So someone will say, I protest, but it has to be done before all the results are announced, and they have to be lodged with the chief judge. What usually happens then, and I've only seen this happen once, is the chief judge and the voting judges go off into another room with the contestant and the person that lodged the protest. They work out whatever it is. The contestant has to be given an opportunity to respond during that meeting, and then they vote on whether to allow the protest or not, and then they come back in with their decision. I've only seen this happen once. I don't even remember what the result was, but hopefully this never happens in any of the contests that you have to run. So after the contest, you thank all your participants, everybody who had anything to do with it, the sponsoring club, whoever brought the food, all of that stuff. You give them the details of the next level contest. You should have that by now. The contest chair, and this is going to be done after you go home, fills out the notification of contest winner form. It's one of those forms in the kit, and you pass it on to the next level contest chair. So that chair knows who's going to be competing in my contest. Guess what? You're done. You did a great job, like I told you you would. Shut off the lights and go home. At this point, I'll take any questions. Let me see if I can get the chat going. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see the chat window. Any questions in here? I don't see any questions. So Jim, you can open it up and people can ask questions verbally. Oh, I'm going to share for one more reason. Because I have this has the link to the Keene Toastmasters Club website. What you'll find there is this presentation as a PDF, sharing a successful speech contest. Another document called the speech contest briefings and scripts. This has the scripts for the two briefings, the contest master script, the chief judge script, all of that is there. And then this other document is a planning guide, which will allow you to schedule things. It'll tell you 6 weeks before the contest, do this, 4 weeks before the contest, do this, 2 weeks before, do this, and so on. So if you want to take a picture of that, I will leave that up. In the meantime, any questions? No questions.
I see one here. It says, when is the next division contest?
According to what you told me, Jim, that would be around, have to be done by April 30th. So
Also,
between
too,
April 16th and April 30th, I suppose.
I just want to make one clarity on division contest. So basically everything is off of the division. So if the division director decides they want to do the humorous speeches in the fall, the clubs would sort of follow backwards on that. So, but they can do it, like you said, they can do it 2 weeks before the contest in May, and everybody just follows back from the division contest. So
yeah, I just used your dates going back from the conference, but yes, whenever the division director decides they have their contest, everybody is 2 weeks and 2 weeks and 2 weeks before that.
And yes, I will be saving this presentation, and Richard Lefevre will put it on our website under our webinars.
Okay, great. Any more questions?
So I'm a little confused because in the last two clubs I was in, they had fall contests as well as spring.
Yes, because we no longer have the fall conference, the schedule for those contests has been changed. In the spring, we normally would have had the international contest and I believe either evaluation or table topics, and the humorous contest would have been held in the fall. So now that's all pushed into the spring because there is no fall conference to have it. The division contest, as Jim Wista just pointed out, if the division contests are in the fall, you can have them all in the fall, or you can have them all in the spring. It's kind of up to the division director.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we're planning one set of division and area and club, and that would all be starting the first week of April, our club ones.
You can start your club contest next week if you wanted to.
As long as they're before the division and area ones, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you have a lot, yes, you have a lot of time to them. The other thing is, if you're running all three contests, you don't have to have them all on the same night. People do it because they can get the judges and timers and counters, you know, they share them with all the contests. But if you don't want to take, 4 hours to run three contests, you can have them on successive meeting nights.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Yes.
A person who gives a speech for the club wins, then goes to the area level. Can the same speech be used, or do you have to have a new one? New speech?
They can use the same speech all the way up to the district.
Oh, okay.
That's a good question.
Yes, they
Well,
can. it's up to the contestant. They can use the same speech or they can use a completely different speech.
Okay, thank you.
In one of my recent contests, I gave a speech and it was one of these joint contests. So I got to hear one of my future competitors' speeches in that contest. That's one of the disadvantages of having these joint area contests.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, well, I didn't really like the way my speech went. And I said, oh, that guy's speech might win. So I completely changed my speech.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I heard the other speech. So I was able to do that. And after the division contest where I won over that guy, he came up to me and he goes, why did you change your speech?
Yeah, well, if there's enough time between the speech contest, then you can make up a speech, but otherwise it's impossible. I think, I don't know, it's hard. Yeah, yeah.
At the international level, you can use the same speech up to the division, up to the district. I think when you go to the international, there's 2 levels of speeches, the semifinals and the finals. You have to have 2 different speeches for those.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you have to have 2 speeches ready before
Yes.
you even get to the international.
Yes, I understand.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Those were all good questions.
How do you, oh, hello? Hi.
Yes.
How do you find a test speaker?
You just put the word out. Anybody that wants to speak. It's an opportunity to give a 5 to 7 minute speech and actually have it evaluated by, I don't know, however many contestants there are. So it's a great opportunity. If they wanted evaluated for a project that they're doing, which they can, you just have one of the contestants do afterwards, the evaluation form for that project. You don't do it during the contest, you just have them do it afterwards. But yeah, it's an opportunity for somebody to give the speech. And it does not have to be your most fantastic speaker. In fact, if it's someone who's fairly new and has a speech that has things to improve on, it will give the evaluation contestants more to work on.
They're easier to evaluate than a polished speech.
Yes, yeah. Because as part of the judging of the evaluators, you want to hear them give constructive criticism of the speech. So you want to give them a speech that's not perfect.
Yeah, that's right.
Anybody else? All right, if you want, I can wrap it up. Basically, running a contest, it's a project with tasks and deadlines like anything else. And the tasks are basically recruit your contestants, recruit your staff, read the manual. I really recommend that you read the rule book. It doesn't take that long. And there's a lot of information in there. In fact, a lot of information that's helpful in planning your contest. Then you're going to make sure you have a good venue and a good team. You're going to run your contest, have food there, and then that's going to be a great contest. So you'll do fine. Thank you very much, Jim, for holding this webinar. Thank you, everyone, for coming and listening. Thank you very much. I hope you got something out of it. I am available for questions at any time. I encourage others to compete and to participate in speech contests anyway, because they're great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. That was very good information. I actually learned a little bit. It was very thorough. I quite enjoyed it. And thank you very, very much, Mike, for offering your time. The next webinar is on the 6th I'll have to find out from Melinda McCormick because she is actually handling that one. It's going to be something on club growth. I don't know what the topic of it is, but I will make sure that the information gets sent out. And thank you everybody for showing up and giving your time and learning how to run a speech contest. It was really quite good, Mike.
Thank you. I hope a lot of people watch the recording too.
Yes, I hope they do too.
Okay,
There's lots of good information there.
thanks.